Hello and welcome to this engagement event for CQRS Local. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. My name is Catherine Smith and I work for Midlands and Lancashire Commissioning Support Unit. I'm joined on the call today by Andrew Mason from Next CSU. Andrew's our Senior System Developer, and also David O'Brien, who's our Senior Trainer from Midlands and Lancashire CSU. We're working as part of a collaborative of all 5 CSUs working in partnership together to develop, deliver and support the CQRS programme. Our work on CQRS has been commissioned by NHS England. The overall CQRS programme has 2 strands. The first to take over the management and running of CQRS National, which the collaborative did successfully in 2021. The second, and the reason for this session, is the introduction of CQRS Local. So, what is CQRS Local? Very simply put, CQRS Local is the one-stop shop to manage payments for local incentive schemes, very much like the national version, but with you in the driving seat. The system will allow commissioning organisations to set up and manage schemes, from a very simple item of service option to a complex weighted scheme, to offer those schemes to practices who can then submit claims against them. The commissioning organisation can authorise payment and payment is made, all within a single system, allowing swift reconciliation and multi-level reporting. The CQRS system has been developed from a system currently in use in many CCGs in the northeast of the country, a system developed by Next CSU. As a collaborative, we've taken that product and further enhanced it. We've made it more flexible and more powerful to meet the needs of all CCGs across the country. We've been helped and guided by our end user working group. This fantastic group of people represents the primary care commissioning and provider community across the country, and they've really shaped the system to ensure that it adds value to the CCGs and to the practices. We now have 5 early adopter CCGs actively using the system to manage their schemes and to pay their practices for activity against schemes. These 5 early adopters have been absolutely crucial in testing and further developing the system to make it as good as it possibly can be. I'm now going to hand you over to David for an end-to-end demonstration of the CQRS Local system. Thank you, David.
I will now take you through the end-to-end process of the 2 main CQRS Local user groups. These are commissioning organisations and service providers. Let's now take a look at the service creation, declaration and approval process. This will form 3 steps. Step 1, the commissioner will create a service, add the service components, and will then offer the contract out to their service providers. Step 2, the service provider prepares and submits declaration. This will depend on whether or not they have a single or multi-level approval process in place. This will be explained in the next slide. Step 3, this comprises of 2 tiers and 2 separate users. Tier 1 will check the submitted claim, including any provided evidence documentation if this was a requirement, and once approved will go to Tier 2, who will approve the claim for payment. We've configured the system to accommodate both of these options following feedback we've received from our early adopters. This will ultimately relieve any extra burden on the practice or business manager. As we can see, with a single level approval process, there will be a provider user within the practice that will prepare and submit the claim to their commissioning organisation. Whereas a multi-level approval process, the provider user will prepare the claim. This then gets submitted to the provider approver, who will be the practice or business manager, who will then approve this claim before submitting it to the commissioning organisation. We have found that a single level approach works well for the smaller practices, and the multi-level approach works well with the larger practices. The system is defaulted to be single level and can be toggled on or off effortlessly. Just need the service provider to decide on their individual setup. Step 1 of the process. So I am a commissioning user and I'm working at North at Sierra Commissioning Organisations. My activities will be to create a service, add the service components, and I'll be offering out the contract to our providers. The service details will include minor surgery, which will include excisions, incisions and injections. These three are called components. The service provider approval level will be single level. From my CQRS Local home screen, I'm going to click on the Services menu tile. From here, I'm going to click on the New Services button. We will select our service class name from the drop-down list. From here, we can select if this is going to be an enhanced or incentivised service. The name section here is where you will enter your service name, and for this it's going to be minor surgery service. The pay code will determine which pot this particular service will be paid from. There's a really convenient search facility here also where you simply type in a few letters to obtain the appropriate category. The financial year is available to select from the drop-down list, and this will be covering the financial year 2022 to 2023. The PCSE for payments option, so this will work exactly the same way as the national system, or simply leave it unticked if you have an agreement in place to pay off system. Claims submitted on behalf of the practice by the Commissioner. This would be an agreed alternative of service provider data submission where the Commissioner or CSU will submit a claim or claims on behalf of the practice, which is then verified and approved by the practice before it is Commissioner approved. You can add anything you like here for the service description, but keeping it simple, we're going to be using the minor surgery service description. Moving slightly further down the page, a service specification document can be included and uploaded here. This is a really good point of reference for both the service provider and the Commissioner relating to the service objectives and payment information, etc. This is obtainable within just a couple of clicks. We can see our service specification has been successfully uploaded. Here you can add more than one document. You will now be taken to the Components page. A component is an activity that will be undertaken by the service provider in conjunction with the service that they will be providing. The first one is excisions, and throughout the process of developing CQRS Local, we have worked closely with a wide audience to develop a system that is as flexible as it can be to accommodate all your local schemes. Whether your service requires a monthly, quarterly, biannually or annual payment arrangement, this system will cater for that. We're going to specify a monthly frequency. The tariff currency function allows you to make your payments on a per unit or per excision basis. For other services, there is the option to pay a retainer, which is a set amount that will be paid each month or each quarter, for example. There are also tariffs based around actual or weighted populations too. The example tariff for this particular component will be £88.91 for each excision the service provider undertakes. Evidence may be a requirement in support of any submitted claims. You can use the free text box to stipulate your requirements up to a maximum of 1024 characters. Bandings. These can be used for performance-related payments and can be a lot more generous. You could use the static activity, where achievements that meet a certain threshold will determine a higher financial return for the provider. The numbers are patients seen or procedures undertaken. This example here shows where performance will be related to percentage complete. So you can see the different percentages, and based upon them you get a different tariff. With that, you can use the sliding scale where between 0 and 100%, every single step up by a percent equals a different tariff amount. We've also added a calculation example which allows you to work out for yourselves what that return value will be in terms of a claim tariff and if that works for you. As we can see, our first component has now been successfully added. If we fast forward, we can see that now all three components have now been added to the system. The edit function will allow you to modify certain elements, such as a change of tariff amount. Let's now review the service. From here, you can view the service schedule. As we can see, months 1 through to 12 are listed. These days are configurable to enable you to have peace of mind knowing that there will be no disruption to your contractual agreements going forward. This is the period of time your service providers will be claiming for the work they have undertaken. This is the period of time for claim submission and commissioner approval. We'll now close this window. We're going to use the tick box to select that we wish to publish the service. Just for information, once published, services and components cannot be edited. We'll now click on Publish. The service has now been successfully prepared and published. We can now proceed with the creation of a contract. I'm now going to select the New Contract button. At this point, we can decide whether this will be sent to a single provider or to multiple providers. Again, to keep this simple, our contract name will be Minor Surgery Service. These three fields confirm the start and end period for the contract. Contracts can be shortened depending on the requirements. For example, it may only run for a 3 or 6 month duration. The search box will allow you to search for your service, or you can scroll through the list. The search box here will enable you to use the magnifying glass to make your search a little quicker. The Select All function will select all components, and this is particularly useful if you have services with many of them. I'll now click Next. The Search All Providers is a convenient way to mass select. Depending on circumstances, if any particular practice is unable to participate in the service, they can be deselected on this page. We'll now click Next. This is the final stage and is the contract confirmation screen. Once we are happy, ticking the confirmation box and clicking Confirm will make the service live. Confirmation of the live service can be seen within the contracts page, and the service providers can now begin with their claim submissions. I am now logged on as a provider user, and I'm working at Fair Isle Surgery. It's a single level approving practice. From my CQRS Local home screen, I'm going to click on the Claims menu tile. From here, I'm going to click on New Claim. This is the claim screen and can be a very easy way to see all our claims and their current statuses. I can now start to enter achievement data into the boxes. The system will auto-calculate the return value for the entered achievement. Any requested evidence information will be provided here and is obtainable by clicking on the blue icon. These icons will not appear if there is no requirement for you to submit any evidence. Upon clicking these blue icons, an upload box will appear detailing the supporting requirements. The Browse button will enable the end user to navigate to their network area to retrieve this information. We encourage absolutely no patient identifiable data in any submission. The next step is to submit your claim. Very nice and easy action with very little user input. A reference number has now been generated, and unlike email submissions, we are able to keep track of claim submissions, and the status will also update upon a commissioner action. We can use the above search box at any time to search and track any claim. I also note here that the claims window can be extended up to 100 days at the Commissioner's discretion. Step 3, this will be the Commissioner approval process, approving the claim. From my CQRS Local home screen, I'm going to click on the Claims menu tile. The Review button will highlight to me that there is a claim awaiting my review. I will also receive system notifications of this too. I will now click on the Review button. Once the Review button has been clicked on, we can see the service provider data submission. Upon clicking the evidence icon, a file will download to your computer and is also retrievable from the bottom left-hand corner of your screen. I reviewed this submission and I am happy for it to proceed to Tier 2. I'll now click on the Send for Approval button. So I'm now logged on as a Tier 2 Commissioner Approver who's going to be approving this for payment. From my CQRS Local home screen, again I will click on the Claims menu tile. I will click on the Review button to action. If the Commissioner Approver wishes, they can also check any evidence documentation too from this screen. I'm happy with a financial claim put to me and will proceed to certify and approve for payment. Service provider will get instant notification that the claim has been approved. Please note that if any part of the claim was rejected, the whole claim is rejected. The service provider will then only need to correct the component that was rejected and resubmit this. Only the resubmitted component will need to be approved and not each of the components again. That was the end of the service creation, declaration and approval. We'll now very quickly take a look at the reporting functionalities we have for both the service provider and the commissioner. This will help with any consolidation that needs to be undertaken. From my CQRS Local home screen, I'm going to click on the Reporting menu tile. Section 1 will ask me to select the financial year. Section 2 will ask me to choose the date from and date to period. This can be done over a 12-month, 6-month, quarter, month, week, etc., depending on the service provider. I'm now going to select the services that I wish to report on. These services are minor surgery, near patient testing, and anticoagulation. You can use the Select All services, which will select them all in one go. Then lastly, I will then click on the View button. The search results return the total value of approved claims for services undertaken within this period of time. I also have the option to download this as a CSV file. So reporting for the Commissioner. Again, from my CQRS Local home screen, I'm going to click on the Reporting menu tile. Again, like the Service Provider screen, I'll select the financial year, date from and to, Services, the service providers I wish to report on, and lastly, I'm going to download the CSV file. Again, your search results will return the total value of approved claims for services undertaken within this period. With this file format, you may manipulate the data to your requirements. The CQRS Local sign-up process. Please use the pause button to give you enough time to read the on-screen information relating to the sign-up process. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So, on to some key information about how we can get you up and running with CQRS Local. Whilst the system is very easy to use, as you've just seen, we will of course make sure that you're fully supported. All CCGs will be provided with 3 training and support sessions. Day 1 will allow us to show you the system in more detail and answer any questions that you may have. It also allows us to understand how your schemes will work and who will be using the system. During this session, we'll talk to you about engaging your GP practices and your LMC. Don't worry, we've got all of the materials that you might need to undertake your engagement, and we'll provide practices with e-learning too, so that they're fully aware of how to use the system. Day 2 is system training day. We'll teach your team how to configure and use the system from end to end. We'll also provide you with e-learning and online training guides to help. Day 3 is post-go live support. This can be when you first go live in April, or maybe when your first reporting and payment cycle commences, maybe at the end of the first month or at the end of the first quarter. We'll work with you to ensure that each of those sessions are scheduled to meet your own needs. Due to the ongoing pandemic, all training and support will be provided remotely via Microsoft Teams. And finally, all training and support is free for commissioning organisations and for practices, as of course is the system. Everything that we talk about today is centrally funded by NHS England and will be at no cost to you directly. We know that you'll be really keen to get started with CQRS Local. The system is available and being used, as we mentioned earlier, by early adopter CCGs at the moment, so it is there and up and running. We're encouraging new CCGs to get involved with the system from January, ready for the 22-23 commissioning year. We really encourage you to commence training and setup as soon as your local schemes for next year are agreed. Some of you will already have your local schemes ready, and many will have rolled last year's schemes over into the coming year. If you are in that position, then I really urge you to get started with the setup and the engagement sessions in January. So what happens next after today? So once we've completed all of our events, we'll be in touch with you to understand where you are with your local scheme, when you'll be ready to mobilise the system. We'll answer any questions that you have and are happy to attend any engagement meetings that you might have internally with your CCGs or with your LMC or with the practices. And then we can commence the booking and training support sessions with you. To assist you with those internal discussions, all of the information that we've provided today will be available on the CQRS welcome page, and I'll pop a link in the chat window shortly. We do have other events scheduled, so please encourage others to attend, and we'll share a video of this session so that you can share that with your colleagues. So it just remains for me to say thank you for your time today. We really hope that you have found the session helpful and informative. I've popped a link to a feedback survey in the chat window and would really welcome any feedback that you have about this session or the system as a whole. We wish you all a very pleasant afternoon and we look forward to speaking with you soon. Thank you very much.